Village Singer, written by Mary Wilkins Freeman. It was a warm Sunday in spring. The church windows were wide open. The people were sitting silently, waiting for the church service to begin. The church singers rose slowly from their seats and started to sing. In front of the singers stood Miss Alma Way. She was a new leading soprano. She had a beautiful high voice. It was a much better voice than the old singer, Miss Candace Whitcomb. Candace had been asked to leave the group of church singers because her voice was getting old, and it broke on the high tones. Alma stood waiting for her turn to sing alone. Her throat felt very tight, and she was afraid they would not like her singing. But she sang bravely, and her voice rang out and filled the church. The church people looked at each other and smiled. They felt they had made a good choice. Suddenly, another singing voice from outside filled the church. The people looked at each other. Then, after they recognized the other voice, they became angry. One woman said, "It is Candace Whitcomb. How terrible!" Candace Whitcomb lived just across the road from the church. She was playing her small house organ and singing as loud as she could, so that Alma could not be heard inside the church. Alma almost stopped singing. She felt as if she were going to fall down, but she finished her singing and sat down. After the service, the old churchman, Mr. Pollard, said to Alma, "I shall have a talk with Miss Candace, Alma. Don't you worry." Early in the afternoon, Churchman Pollard walked to Miss Candace's house. "Good afternoon, Miss Candace," he said. Candace looked at him as if he were an enemy. "I'm happy you think it is good," she said. Candace was a tall, thin woman. She moved quickly, like grass in the wind. She did not ask him to come in, but walked away from him and sat near a window. But Mr. Pollard went in and sat next to her. "Miss Whitcomb," he said, "our people felt that, you sang too loud with your windows wide open during the church service this morning. Of course, you could not know this, so, I thought I should tell you." Candace did not move as he talked. She did not lift her eyes to look at him. She said, "I sang because I wanted to sing, and I will do it again. I have a right to sing and play my organ on Sunday if I want to. Just you try and stop me." Her eyes looked at the floor. Her feet were resting on a book. "You see that book?" she said. "They gave that to me. They said I should have it, that I earned it because I sang for them so many years. The book makes a nice place for my feet, does it not?" The churchman looked at the book. His face turned red. Why, Miss Candace," that was all he could say. Candace became bitter. "I want to know what you think of people who say they are Christians, and then treat people like they have treated me. I sang in your church for 40 years. I sang when I'm sick, and I should have been in bed. Now, they tell me I cannot sing anymore because I'm too old. My voice is as good as it ever was. I could never sing those high notes of your new singer, but she sings flat all the time. It seems to me people would be much nicer if they kept an old singer, even if her voice does sound a little old. Singing high notes loud and clear won't save a soul. At least that is what I have been taught. How would you like to be made to leave the church just because you're old, Mr. Pollard?" Candace did not wait for his answer and said, "You should have seen the way they did this to me. They gave me a party. Their faces were full of smile. When they left, I saw that book all wrapped in pretty ribbon. Inside was a note of thanks, and another note that said they did not want me to sing anymore. They had a new singer. They said I was too old. Well, I'm using that book for my feet, and I will be careful not to clean my shoes before I put my feet on the book. The churchman moved his chair. Then he said the only thing he could say. He urged her to get on her knees and pray for help. Pray for help? Candace asked loudly. I don't see any use in praying. I don't think God has much to do with this. Another thing, I'm not going to stop singing on Sunday. And if you don't like it, you can move the church. Mr. Pollard left, feeling badly beaten. Later, Candace walked to her organ and sat down. Her anger had made the blue veins in her neck show through her white skin. When the church organ began playing for the afternoon church service, Candace too began to play. She pushed her fingers down on the keys with the strength of two women. As Alma, the new singer, began her song, Candace opened her mouth very wide. She threw her singing voice across the road right into the church. She sang with deep feeling, true to the music. Singing was her whole life. Now they were trying to take it away from her. When she finished, she felt terribly tired. Her knees began to shake. Red spots appeared on her face. She rose to make a cup of tea, for she had not eaten all day. She lit the fire, but it burned out. She was too tired to care. Her head became dizzy and ached. She walked to the window and sat looking out at the warm spring afternoon. Her head ached more and more. She sat until dark came, then went to bed. But sleep did not come. All night she sat aching, not only in her body, but in her heart. In the morning she tried to get out of bed, but she could not walk. She felt very sick. The news that Candace was sick traveled around the village very quickly. People from the church and her friends came to see her. Each day she grew a little weaker. Several days later, on Sunday, Candace asked to see the churchman. I should not have talked to you the way I did, she said to Mr. Pollard. I was so terribly bad. The churchman said it might have been her sickness that made her do it. Before he left, Candace asked him to send Alma, the new singer, in to see her. I'd like to hear her sing, she said. These words made Candace feel better in her heart. Even the thought of death didn't trouble her so much. Later, Alma and some friends came to see Candace. Candace smiled. Alma smiled too and said, What would you like me to sing? I would like you to sing Jesus, Lover of My Soul, said Candace. Alma began to sing. At first, she did not have control of her voice, but then she sang sweet and clear. As Candace lay and listened, a smile covered her face, and when Alma stopped singing, the smile was still there. Candace felt happy inside. But suddenly, a little of the old bitterness returned. Even in death, she could not completely forgive. The smile was still on her face when she said, Alma, your voice broke a little on the word so.
Jesus, lover of my soul. Jesus, I'll never let you go. You're taking me from